You're listening to the OK Dad podcast.
Please leave your message for
Daddy-o.
Hi, Daddy.
Okay, Dad podcast. Let's start this thing.
Can you not put that on YouTube?
You're listening to my husband talk a lot.
Your parents together? Do you have any siblings and so forth?
So I grew up on the south side of San Antonio. Lived here my whole life. My mom had me when she was really young. She was 13.
13 years old?
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay.
And my dad was 16, so they were teenage parents. Kind of grew up in not a good environment, I guess. There's a lot of like domestic violence and cheating and that. So
was that with your parents or just like everybody else? Did you just live with your parents or?
Well, when I was little, I lived with, of course, like my dad's mom and dad, and then my mom's mom and dad.
Okay.
And jumped from like house to house.
Yeah.
So I've never really had like a stable home, and I'm the oldest out of 4 kids from my mom.
Yeah.
So I kind of had to take on the role of like mother figure because my mom was working 24/7 and my dad would work here and there, but I was kind of like the mother role in the household, I guess you could say.
Yeah. I know that my wife, she was the same way, right? Like she grew up in like a tough environment and she has 2 other siblings, a younger brother, a younger sister, and she had to do a lot of like that stuff to like step up. And at the time you don't even think about it. You're just living your life, right?
Yeah, I just do it. Yeah.
Yeah. So fast forward a little bit, high school. I know we even went to the same high school. I think we hung out, but we didn't like we ran in the same circles, but we never like hung out in the same circles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So after high school, what kind of job did you pick up? Because I think it's really cool the job that you had before your service too, and we'll get into that later. But yeah, how did you fall into that job?
So I grew up in the funeral industry. That was my mom's job as well. So like I said, we moved house to house. I actually lived in a funeral home for a while.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but with one of her like best friends to this date. She's the owner of a funeral home, San Antonio Mortuary, right by South San.
Okay.
So we used to live with them, and of course my mom was doing it. I didn't want to do it when I was older. I wanted to be a vet.
Yeah.
But then my dog of 12 years died, and like I haven't been able to get attached to another animal. So
yeah.
I was like, I don't want to do that anymore. And then I just needed a full-time job because I was also pregnant as a teen and had my baby. So my mom got me in at the funeral home, and then I just fell in love with it. So I went to school for 2 years and I became a licensed funeral director.
How tough was that school while you had your baby?
Well, I had 2 babies by then.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think if you're determined, you're going to get through it no matter what. And I was very determined. It was hard, but
yeah,
I've been through harder, and that was nothing now looking back. It was just something I wanted to accomplish. And I would have been the first kid to ever, go to college and graduate and have a career. I mean, I'm doing good by myself, a single mom. So
yeah. Were you single with your boys when you had them, or was like baby daddy still involved?
Baby daddy was involved for 10 years. And then we just kind of fell out of love and moved on.
I mean, it's tough. Like relationships are tough. And then when you add children into it too, like trying to balance everything gets hard because you don't know what the other partner has priority, and it gets tough there. You have 2 boys though, right?
Yeah. Well, I have 3, but yes, 2.
Well, I know Jude, right?
Yeah.
You've been posting about Jude, and if you want to talk about that story, I'm perfectly okay with it too. I don't think one of the ways I feel about situations like that is some people try not to talk about it at all when they know the person that's going through something like that. I don't feel that way. I feel like we shouldn't let their memory go at all. So, you're seeing him and the way you post in pictures, like it brightens my day every time I saw him. And Still
Mhm.
seeing you post about his videos and his little smile, like it brings a tear to my eye. And I show my wife little Jude all the time too, and we're religious, I'd say, or we're trying to find our way to it. But you and Jude have been in our prayers too, along with your little boys.
Aw,
But
thank
yeah, so that too, if you want to share that with us, that I think that'll help some people too, because there's a lot of women too, and then I think it's tougher on women because you have the connection with a child because you're making it.
Yeah.
Men don't make it at all. So the 9 months that it's in there, although there's some kind of connection, it's not the same connection that a mother has to their baby. But
Yeah.
so Jude, you have three little boys, and you were going to school with the two little boys. Baby daddy was still around. Was that relationship like conducive to everything? Were y'all fine? Was he like for you going to school and working?
Um, yeah, I think going back to what you said, priorities, it was just different. I don't want to say I always wanted more, but I wanted more for my children. I wanted to give them what I never had.
Yeah.
So that my partner kind of was just let me do the minimal and that's it, when I was like we should do more so the kids could have an easier life in the long run. And I guess we
Hmm.
weren't in each other's, I don't know.
Yeah. It's just not lining up.
Yeah, and then it just got, when you repeat yourself and try to get it through their head, and it's like I'm very independent and I rather just do it by myself than be like a sad person going home. And
Yeah. Dealing with it. Well,
yeah.
how old were they when you started going to school to get your license?
Um Valak, this was back in 2014. He's gonna be 12 now, so how
Isn't that crazy?
yeah.
I
I
know.
have a freaking almost teenager. It's insane.
Scary. Yeah.
I'm happy it's a boy though.
Yeah.
Uh, God was
Oh.
like, you're not supposed to have girls yet.
I know. I took my 12-year-old daughter to an improv, like, I don't know what it was, party. There was like a murder mystery party yesterday, and we're there, and there's girls and boys there, and they're like anywhere from 10 to like 18. And I'm seeing everybody interact. I'm like, oh, cool. This is reminding me of like high school and when we're in drama and people of all other kinds are here. And then I see like a little boy like doing his moves, and this girl's just like laughing. And I was like, oh man, like now I gotta worry about my daughter and stuff like this. Like, starting to get gray hairs already thinking about it. Oh my gosh. So 2014, they're still little babies, and
Yeah.
you get it. How does that job work? How do you like it?
Oh, I love it. So I've always been I'm a people pleaser and I love servicing people. It just brings me like I feel like that's what I'm here for. Um so as far as funeral directing, you meet with okay, your loved one passes away, you meet with the family members, take down all the basic history stuff, and then I go to the back, get their loved one ready, do the makeup, dressing, placing them in a casket, all the
Hmm.
small details, take out the service, all the way to burial. So I do everything.
So you do all those steps.
Yeah,
Oh, cool.
yeah. So it's every day's not the same. Everybody's
Yeah.
different. There's some families that I'm very personal with,
Hmm.
um, especially after losing my son. Before it was kind of just business to me, and now I'm just like I've been on both sides. I know the business
Right.
part, oh, the loss now.
Hmm.
Um, so I think it just makes me do my job that much better.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah.
So I have so I'm in like the car industry, right?
Mhm.
And I don't know if you've ever come across this, but inside one of the vehicles we were selling, we found a death certificate,
Mhm.
and it was from Florida. So they're like, well, what do we do with this? And I'm like, well, give it to me because we're not just going to throw that away. Looks like a really important document. I don't know how important it is right now. But the gentleman is 77 years old, and he's got a spouse. So like the first step, I'm like, I have no idea. So I call the funeral home, and I'm like, I don't know if this involves like HIPAA or privacy or anything, but I'm like, I'm calling for so and so. He was there, and like I'm showing that this was the date. But anyways, like I have his death certificate. Like I don't know what to do with this. Like I don't even know if the funeral home like generates that, or if you get like if you could even give me like her number. And they were like really friendly too. Like the way they answered the phone, they're like, yeah, let me give you her number. They gave me her number, and then I called her, and I'm like, I have this, I think you might need it, like just let me know and I can FedEx this like straight to you, because I would hate for this to just end up in the trash, or somebody else like gets it and has no idea and they're just driving around with it in the car that they just bought.
Yeah.
So like other than that, there's been very few times where I've been to like a funeral home. And one of the last things that I can remember is like my grandfather. That was a big one too, who had passed away, and being in the funeral home, and the staff. I've always remembered the staff being nice. I think one of my relatives just passed away this past year. I don't think it was COVID related, but he did pass away, and I think in the San Antonio mortuary is where they did the service for him too.
Oh
So
wow.
yeah, he might have seen him. He might have
Yeah.
went through there. But doing that job, even now, with kids, what do your kids think about you and working as a funeral director?
So I've always, since they were younger, I take them to the funeral home. I let them go into, it's called the selection room, where we have a bunch of caskets.
Mm-hmm.
I let them touch it and look into it. Now, obviously, I can't take them to the back where there's the loved
Yeah.
one. But I kind of just show them everything, because to me, I don't want my kids to fear death. I don't, it's a part of life that a lot of
Yeah.
people talk about. And I understand it's sad. But at the same time, wouldn't you want your, wouldn't you want, what am I trying to say? Wouldn't you want to know what your wife wanted
Yeah.
before she asked, instead of you sitting at that table, a director's asking you, what kind of casket does she want? What were her colors? What kind of video does she want? And you're just so in distraught and in grief that you can't even think.
Yeah.
To me, I think death is a very important topic to have. Of course, there's a time and a place and an age, and kids aren't going to understand. There's levels, and there's way you have to, depending again on your religious preference, on how you want to explain that to them. So I've been open with them. I've taken them to the funeral home since they were babies. Just like me, I've never been afraid of death.
Yeah.
Actually weird, and I think like it's cool and shit, but in a respectable way anyways.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
that's how my wife is. My wife's very she's so technical, I think, when we talk about any subjects. And I don't know if that's the nurse in her or just her attitude. But when it comes up, or my daughter will ask a question like, well, what if this happened? Then my wife's like, well, then we'd be dead, because the situation you're saying is we'd be dead. That's the question you're giving me. And I'm like, well, hold on, like that's not like that's what she asked, but that's not what like she meant. Like that's not the kind of answer she was looking for. So like anytime it comes up, like that's how my wife's answering it, and I'm trying to like dance around it so we can get to the answer. But like I think I'm in agreement with you on that too, because a lot of people they go away from subjects like that are either too taboo to talk about, or too touchy, or too sensitive, or too close to home. So starting out early, especially with that job too that you have, or career, I think that's really neat, because a lot of people don't have that opportunity, and then it's not really talked about.
yeah.
I remember being scared of death when I was like a small like little boy, and then my dad smokes probably like 2 packs of cigarettes a day since I can remember anything. And I just remember one night like just crying my eyes out, because I realized like, oh, all the dare programs and stuff were coming out, and I'm like, you're gonna die. And he came in, he's like, no, I'm not gonna die. I was like, no, you're gonna die, like you're gonna die soon, because you smoke so much. And like that was my first realization of death. And even since then, like I never had a talk with my parents about death, or like they're gonna die, grandparents are gonna die, none of that. And so that's something too, like it's just really avoided, especially like as you're growing up and aging. So that's really cool that you're teaching your kids that too, that it's part of life, because it is.
Mhm.
So my next question for you would be, what made you go into the military?
So I've always, okay, first dream job was a veterinarian. Second dream job was, I guess because I had a bad upbringing, I turned it into a positive, and I wanted to be that person to save people. And I
Mhm.
wanted to be that person to, like rescue anybody who's in distress or who's going through that or whatever. So I always wanted to be like the FBI or something badass like that.
Yeah.
And with my partner, the boy's dad, I always told him, I was like, let me join. Let me join. I wanted to do the army. I wanted to be boots on the ground. But because I was a woman and he was like, no, you're going to get raped and yada, yada, yada. I don't want you to. I kind of held back for him to respect my husband's wishes, but literally got divorced 2018 of January. And I joined, got divorced 2019 of January, and I joined June 2019. So,
Oh wow. Nice. So
yeah.
that literally was the thing holding you back, was that marriage, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. So did
Yeah.
it feel liberating to like finally do something you've been wanting to do for what, over 4 years?
Yes. I was beyond excited. I was going to be the first out of both my families to go to the military. And especially me being a mom and
Mm-hmm.
joining the military, I just was like, I hope my boys see the sacrifice that I'm doing. And I hope that when they grow up and they hit a rough patch, to know that it doesn't matter where you're from, what you've been through, you could always do it if you put your mind to it. And that's like
Yeah.
one for my kids, I want to make sure that they know I've been through literally hell and back this past
Mm-hmm.
year. I'm still here and I'm still doing it, and it's hard, but you have to.
Yeah. No, you're definitely an inspiration too. Like when I think of in my mind, I have a handful of people that I know or that I have on social media that like I've interacted with closely, like we're doing here, that are women that, I often like have my daughter, like I tell stories about it so that, she has somebody to look up. So she knows like there are real people, not just a Wonder Woman cartoon figure or something like this, but like actual women. I often tease her too, and this is probably just like the dad in me, but we'll be doing something. I'm like, nah, you can't do that. You're a girl. And she's like, girls can do that. And I was like, well, show me that you can do it. And then she'll go and do it. And I was like, yeah, I know you could do it. Like, you could do it all along. And she's like, oh, okay. Like, I thought you really thought that girls couldn't do that. And even at my job, I have like one of my bosses is female, and we're really good friends too. And since I started there, I'm like, yeah, like she's the boss. And she's like, what? She's the boss here? And I'm like, yeah, she's the boss here. What you? And then I'll tell her like, well, you don't think a girl can do this job? And she's like, no, I didn't say that. I'm like, okay, because you need to get that out of your mind like right now. But I
Mhm.
think I think there's been a real big push for that too, because even growing up, I can't remember like the positivity that like we have now in the culture and like our era growing up. Like I've never remembered that. It was always kind of just like not really said. You know what I mean?
Oh, it kind of was just like, it just recently changed to where it was a big time like independence type thing.
Yeah. Like I know like there's rights and stuff, but it feels like within maybe like the last 10 years, like everybody's like noticed it now. And I feel like as the older people like get out and go away, I guess is a easy way to put it. Like more of the fresh attitude is coming in and different ideas like, hey, like not that it's this way or that way, but like we're all in this together. It's not just one way or the other. Like it doesn't matter if you want to do it, I can do it. Or if you want to do it, you can do it. If I want to do it, I can do it. And so you joined the Navy, right?
Yeah.
So how was basic or boot camp in the Navy?
Going in late, the only thing that was hard for me was dealing with the kids. Oh
Yeah.
my God. It was, I mean, they're babies, 17, 18, crying and they're in culture shock and they don't even know how to do like basic feminine stuff. I won't get into, but if you could kind of just like, oh my God. So they called me Mama Delgado, literally. I was like the mom to all of them. I was like, guys, we're almost there. We're gonna make
Yeah.
it. Like, there's a reason why you're here. For me,
Yeah.
it was, but just like me not trying to be mean or saying like just shut up and deal with it. I tried to be compassionate and help everybody because at the end of the day, the military is one big family. You have to be
Yeah.
there for. We all wear the same uniform and that's it. So
Yeah. So was that your first time out of San Antonio?
like I visited a few places, but yeah, that was pretty much me breaking the ice of getting out of Texas.
And were you like, for myself and my immediate family, and probably a little bit of my like aunts, uncles and stuff, that me leaving to college, like leaving the city, even though it was like an hour away, was probably like first in my family. And then even when I left, like my mom didn't want me to join the military at all. And I was like, there's no way we're paying for college after this first year. Like I already owe $5,000. So
Yeah.
how did your parents take it when you were leaving to the military? Did you
So
tell them?
I didn't tell my dad until my contract was already signed and I already had a ship out date because I knew if I would have listened to him, he would have talked me out of it because I'm his baby girl. Like,
Yeah.
no. And they're very, old school and women aren't supposed to join the military and a man should be taking care of me and all that stuff. So invited everybody one day and I was like, I have an announcement. They thought I was pregnant.
Yeah. That's always like in the Hispanic thing, that's like always a thing, right? You're pregnant. Like,
Yeah.
I remember, I think my mom said the same thing. Like, I need to sit y'all down and have something. She's like, what? You got somebody pregnant? And I was like, what? Did you sit him down to tell him, or?
Nervous. And then after I told him, just silence. Like he was in shock. Nobody expected that out of everything. Nobody expected me military. So
Man.
yeah.
So where did you get stationed?
So after boot camp, I got stationed in Virginia in Norfolk.
Oh, okay. I've
Yeah.
never been out there. I've been through Virginia, but I've never been in any like base or camp over there. How is it there?
It's okay.
Yeah.
To me, it's racist, but
Yeah. Did you have your boys with you out there?
no, they stayed because I didn't know if I was gonna get deployed right away, and I did. I moved in August and I got deployed October, at the end of October. So
Yeah.
they stayed in Texas. They came to visit after I had Jude.
Yeah. And then how was I know that relationship was a little rocky from the stuff that you posted. How was that? Was that also a military guy, or was it just a guy from Virginia?
It was a guy that was a bum from San Antonio.
Oh, okay.
I took him in pretty much, again, people pleaser, trying to like, I could fix you. All you need is love. Yeah.
Yeah. So how did that one, obviously didn't work out? So what were some signs that like gave you some like red alert, like I need to give this guy the boot?
So from the very beginning, it was red flags. So I moved him in. He moved down here from Michigan and he worked at the funeral home I was working with. And of course, that's how I met. Well, he was living in a hotel and I, got divorced. I had my own place and I was like, well, you could come stay with me if you want.
Yeah.
I moved him in and it was good for a while. And then one day he just didn't come home. So I was like, what the heck? The next morning he came home super drunk. I was like, that day I should have just been cut the ties, but no, he cried. He did the whole, I'm sorry. I took him back. Just little things. He wasn't motivated, but he had a bad childhood and I felt bad. And like I said, if I showed him enough love, maybe he would change, and his
Yeah.
family, like, you're doing such a good job with him, like he is changing, yada yada yada. So I felt good. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
come to the military with me. So we did that for a while. I mean, we had our good times, but red flag was I was 27 at that time. He didn't have
Mm-hmm.
a job. His parents were paying everything for him. I had ready. I was a single woman supporting myself, supporting him, supporting my kids. Like he was just using me.
Yeah.
It was a surprise. I was actually on deployment, and I got burned on the ship, so I had to go to medical, and they drew blood, and that's how I found out I was pregnant. Because
Oh,
I thought I had a seasickness.
yeah.
As soon as we left, like I was like, y'all, I don't feel good. So every morning I would like eat lemon or whatever, and then I'd be fine. And they're like, oh, you haven't got your legs yet. And I was like, okay. So yeah, I found out I was pregnant.
What a way to find out.
Um, what did you say, when?
No, I said what a way to find out that you're pregnant.
Right, I know. So I didn't get to fly off the ship until after the holidays of the following year. And then I had told him, I was like, look, I don't want to be with you. But I'm pregnant, so we try. And it just
Yeah.
went downhill from there. So
I feel like I know a lot of stories like that where boy meets girl and then boy's not who boy is, and then like those same things, those like patterns happen and you see it. What would you tell like another woman if you think they're not seeing those signs? Like, because I know it's touchy too, even if it's a friend trying to come close to them and like, hey, like I know you probably don't want to hear this from me, like I just don't want to like enable you to keep doing this, but like how would you try to help like a woman to get away from somebody that's like toxic or it's not really good for them at all?
that's so hard, because I had everybody tell me. My family told me, my dad hated him, my mom hated him, and my mom loves everybody. Like she gives
Yeah.
off of her back, but when you mess with her, that's it. And everybody told me, my best friends told me, my everybody, and I didn't listen because I was like, y'all don't see the good side of him that I see,
Yeah.
whatever that was. And you could tell somebody over and over, but until they're ready to leave.
Yeah.
But I would not hold back. I would definitely tell them. Like if that was
Yeah.
my friend situation, I'd be like, hey, hey girl, it's your life. You're gonna do whatever you want, but I'm seeing this and you don't look happy and you don't look okay. Like even if it is touchy, at least, even if they don't want to talk about it, they're either gonna accept it or they're not.
Yeah,
So
because even so, this is like what I've seen when like I try to say something like, "Hey, this guy is not good," or like he's he's bad news. He's doing this, and this. I'm not sure if you're seeing it. And usually, when that does happen, you're met with the same thing, right? Like you're not seeing what I'm seeing, but then now that person doesn't even want to tell you the bad things that are happening because now they're going to feel like, oh, well, you were right. So I'm not going to tell you these bad things that are happening. And it gets difficult. It gets really, really difficult for women to kind of leave those things. Or I think they start feeling like low self-worth, low self-esteem, like there's not another choice out there. Like, hey, like I have babies, like who's gonna pick this up? Like when in actuality, like there's tons of guys, there's tons of good guys out there. They would like pick anybody up, take them out in a heartbeat. When I met my wife, she had my stepdaughter, right? So Cindy was 6 years old, and like some years later, we're talking about it, and she was like, yeah, that they're like the mom groups that post like, oh well, I'm a package deal, or he's saying that he's not gonna be able to help my daughter, he's not gonna treat my daughter as his own. And like, well, what did you guys do? And she had asked me, she's like, well, what did you think when I was that I had a daughter? And I was like, I really didn't even think about that. I just figured, wherever you go, she's going. Like it
yeah.
wasn't even a thought in my mind that like, oh, like if we get together, like where's she gonna fit in? I was like, no, like I was like, it wasn't a thought. Like when she said, like, she had asked me that. And when I had asked her out like 6 or 7 times. She just kept telling me no. But I was like, no, like, let's go out. Let's go do something. She just kept telling me no. Like, I don't know how many times I asked her out, but it was always no. So eventually, uh, I got her to say yes, and we went to the movies. But it was never a thought on my mind. I have a couple of other buddies like that too that have like really good like moral standings and look at women in the relationship. And when they talk about kids and stuff, it's never anything like that. And even the people that are stuck in relationships that don't have kids, I think they start to feel the same way. Like, no, like this is what I'm deserving of. And I don't know where they get that from, but I think that's another like piece of the puzzle that's hard. Like you can't tell them you can, but then now that you can't tell them that this guy's bad news, because now they don't want to tell you what the bad stuff that they're doing,
Yeah.
or the extent of it too. So I think that's good to at least know, like, hey, at least you have somebody that's saying like, hey, you should probably have your guard up or watch out. If that stuff's not working, what other things would you tell them to kind of help push them out, or even realize? What do you think would have helped you realize if you had to look back at it?
And I don't know. I don't know what I could have done differently that would make me push him out sooner. So I was with a very, very narcissistic person. Like I've never, he destroyed me. And like I used to be confident. I used to, like you said, your self-worth. But when you're being controlled by somebody like that, it's so hard to get out of. Just like domestic violence.
Yeah.
Bit of that played into it, but it was more of the control. He just had full control over me. So I really
Yeah.
don't know what I could have done that would have been like, all right, cool, bye. It
Yeah.
was weird.
And like people like that, it happens a little bit at a time to where you don't even notice it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like from the very beginning, it's almost like they get their claws in you, and then slowly and slowly and slowly until it's like too late, and you like lost control of the old you, or you're finding yourself not even wanting to see the people that you originally hung out with all the time or went and talked to very much. Like I've had people like that in my life too, where it's like I'm not even seeing my family anymore when I used to see them all the time. And this is like when I was back like from the military. And yeah, it's hard to like get out of those things, you know what I mean? But I've seen people like you like get up and crawl out and like stand here today, and like that's inspiring too, because the women that I see do that are like the strong, like you said, strong-willed, stubborn, like got fight in them. And
Yeah.
like I really wish like there's something that I wish there was like a one size fits all that could help other women that are struggling with stuff like that. So I think that's a good take on it too.
Yeah. And
So
honestly, the only reason why I got out is because of Jude. After I had him, it was like my mother, because remember, my boys were back in Texas. I didn't really have to worry about them being around him and seeing him and stuff, or seeing the
mhm,
way when I would call them, it was happy mom. That's all they knew.
yeah,
When I had my baby, that's when, the red flags, like you said, started going off. And okay, this is just, no, I can't bring up a child with a person like this.
mm,
Got crazy, and then he passed away. So I think if it wasn't for Jude, I'd probably still be in the relationship, super depressed, or not be here right now. So
yeah. Oh man, that's
I
so bad to hear.
yeah.
But baby Jude, when I know you had put a video out too, and I watched the whole video. Um, I don't know if you want to walk us through that too, but I know you had gotten you were at work, I think, that day, right? And then you had gotten a call from the daycare.
So from January all the way to the date leading up to his passing, me and his father were fighting for custody. And he didn't tell me he had filed for custody. So I, called my mom up and I was like, again, we're working off of one income, which is mine.
Mm-hmm.
Here you have to work. There's no calling
Yeah.
sick. Hey, if I had leave days, which I was saving, but other than that, you have
Yeah.
to be rain, shine. They don't give a shit what you're going through at home.
Yeah. You can't
You're
even just tell them like, hey, tomorrow, can I use a leave day? Yeah. It doesn't
yeah,
work like that.
you have to do, put in leave a week or 2 weeks in advance, regardless. Anyways, so I called my mom and I was like, hey, I told him I don't want to be with him. I want a divorce. He's from a different state. He's not from Texas. So I don't know how he's going to act with me wanting to bring Jude back home. And I told him that, I'm more than likely going to get out of the military. So he just like shut down from there. His parents were really wealthy, so I was super scared. They hired a lawyer right away. I had to get some lawyer I found. The reason why I say Virginia is racist, or maybe it was just her, but I got told that I need to stop acting Hispanic.
What?
Yeah, because that's not going to win my case in court.
And that was like, from the attorney?
Yes.
Oh my
and I
gosh.
said, lady, I hired you and you're supposed to listen to me. And I'm very, not because I'm Hispanic, but because my husband is trying to take my baby away. And I've been a great mom. Like, that's why I'm mad. Not because I'm Hispanic. And she was like, well, statistics say Hispanic, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans are like, I don't know, prone to abuse.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, what the hell? So this wasn't going to be easy for me because he's Caucasian.
Yeah.
Very family. So I'm like, I was scared. I really was going to lose Jude. Anyways, I got a nanny cam and things were recorded. So he ended up getting arrested February 24th. And I was alone. So I had to tell my command, like, hey, my husband just got arrested. I need to find a babysitter for my son. I'm going to take leave, emergency leave. So I was able to, I found a babysitter for Jude. He was only in there for a month and a day. And so me and my husband were going to court. He was in jail at the time. And I had put an emergency protective order against him and my son, for me and my son. And we went to court. March 9th was the day I dropped him off at the babysitter's. I was in court that morning and there was a bomb threat. So I waited outside probably from like 8:45 to 8:50 all the way to almost 1:00 in the afternoon until they cleared it. Well, in the courthouse over there, you can't have like phones or anything. So I left it in my car. And my car was in the area that the bomb threat, so they had it secured. So eventually to my car, I was in my car just like on Facebook and texting my lawyer what happened, all that stuff. And then I got a call from like a number that wasn't saved in my phone. I had the daycare lady's number saved. It called me. I ignored it. Called me again. I ignored it. And then it called me again. So I was like, what the heck? And I answered it. And it was a little girl. And she was like, Jude's not breathing. Come quick. So right away, like I just went blank and I was like, what? And she's like, Jude's not breathing, come quick. So I kind of just dropped everything, got out of my car. And this lady next to me, I asked her if she could take me to, like I was hyperventilating and I was like, my son, take me to the daycare. And she was like, okay. So we went as fast as we could. On the video, I said it was like 20 minutes. I lived in Hampton, the base, and the babysitter was in Norfolk. So a cop called me while we were driving and he's like, go to the children's hospital. He's getting transported. So I thought, coming from a funeral background, if somebody is dead at a residence, the medical examiner goes out there and they clear it, or they take the body and they take it to the medical examiner. Well, then I was like, they're taking him to the hospital, so he's not dead. So anyway, cop didn't want to tell me anything over the phone. I asked, is he breathing? Like, what happened? Did he fall? Like, what? They didn't want to tell me. Got there. And that's when I walked to the back and they were doing CPR on him and, fell to the floor, freaked out, kind of I wasn't even thinking at that point, and I would say like 10 minutes maybe. That's when the doctor came out and said that they couldn't bring him back, and that was how that day went.
Oh
So
my gosh.
yeah, I got to be with him for a little bit at the hospital, but because they didn't know what happened to him, he was considered evidence, so I couldn't touch him. I couldn't, they had tubes in his mouth. It just, if I could change anything, it would take that memory out of my head because
Yeah.
sucks to have that memory there.
Yeah. Well, in the day and age that we live, though, like I still love that you have videos of Jude that like I've still never seen that you put up on social media, and him on his little bouncer, and like those still keep his memory going. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And you still
See,
have all those.
I'm one of the people that like to talk about it because I don't ever want to forget him. And I get it. People are, especially because he's a baby and he passed and they don't know if it's going to trigger me or what, but I love talking about him. Like I could talk about him all day,
Yeah.
but
I
am
mean,
I,
and you should.
yeah, am I religious? No. Do I believe in something? Sure. I believe like, I know like the spiritual world is very real. The only thing I could say is you got to see it to believe it. You got to feel it. Like I feel
Mhm.
him where there's things where like of course I have low days still, and I have days where I'm just like, why me? I wish, I wasn't here and stuff like that. But then he brings me back. Like there's something and I know it's him. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw my post. I just got my furniture from Virginia and I was able to dream about him, like a long dream. And I was with him and I was like, that's what I needed. Just things like that keeps me going.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think that I know people have that fear of like triggering someone who just lost someone, but I mean talking about him or her or whoever it is that you just lost, because then people stop talking to you about them. And then I think that's how memories start to fade of the person, you know? And I really enjoy that you're able to talk about him, because that does keep him going, you know? And you're stronger for it. You know what I mean? And you keep going. You still have your other two boys. They're getting so big too.
Yes.
They're about to have some teenagers. How is when y'all go out to eat? Like is it a heavy bill when you go, because you got two boys?
Now it is. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh man. Today we this is like a weekend that we rarely get all of us here, because Cindy usually goes with her bio dad on the weekend. And so I'm like, where do you want to go? And my wife's like, oh, let's go to Roadhouse. And I was like, okay. But my daughter likes ribeye steaks. So
Oh
so
my.
I'm like, let's go get pizza. Let's go get something else like it's a little bit cheaper. And she was like, no, like Roadhouse will be cheap. And I was like, yeah, if it's just both of us. But if it's like we're gonna have her and my son, like, oh, it's gonna be crazy. So we ended up getting pizza today. But Christian, you're back in San Antonio, Texas, right?
For good. Yes.
Yeah. So after your military service, how were you able to just kind of pick up where you left off with funeral directing, or are you in a different place?
No, fortunately. Sorry.
Oh, you're okay.
Fortunately for me, I kept my license current, so I was able to, and I left on good standings with my old job. So
Yeah.
they actually did the service for Jude. So I had a job secured even before I got discharged.
Ah,
So
okay. How was
trans
getting
back
how was
was
transition out? Yeah, I was just about to
uh,
ask.
if I could have stayed in the military, I sorry, it's my dad.
No, you're good.
um, but I need to be a mom, so that's priority. I don't know. It's weird. It's
Yeah.
weird military and being back in civilian. I got diagnosed with really bad anxiety and depression and a disorder. So I got medically discharged. And I think, of course, Jude's passing contributed, but it was prior to that. I don't want to say I get ticked off really easily, but I don't know. It's just weird.
Oh,
Someday
it's a lot worse. Yeah.
it's not the military where people understand.
Yeah.
It's different. It's different. And I forget sometimes.
Yeah.
Even around my kids, I forget, and I'm like, okay, shit, I need to control myself because it's difficult sometimes.
Yeah, I think I just officially got out this past summer too. So like now the first time in like over 10 years, like my hair's getting as long as it was in high school. Like I don't have to shave every month like with the reserves, and shaving every day when in active duty. So like stuff like that. You can wear an army shirt and army shorts and something else that nobody's gonna yell at you. You can walk on the grass, like all those
Yeah.
different things. You know what I mean?
See, little things that we don't realize it's triggering. Like I can't walk with talking on the phone still. I freak out. My heart starts. I'm like, I'm gonna get in trouble. I need to stop. Or looking for people to salute, and I'm like, I'm not even in a uniform. Like, what am I
Yeah.
doing? Like,
Or having to explain like why you need your hat to walk outside, but you don't need it inside. Like to
yeah.
someone. Yeah. Like
Or with me is time. I cannot be late to anything anymore. If I
yeah.
am, forget it. My whole day is ruined. Like time is so important to me now. It's weird.
Oh man. I have it's funny because like if you go to any like VA stuff, like it's the same thing. Like they're very time oriented. And I messed up my back in the army because I used to jump out of the airplanes. But now, like all the stuff that I did in the military, like messed up my back a lot. So they were, before they did back surgery, or I haven't gotten back surgery yet, but before they want to do that, they want to do a procedure where every 3 months they inject my back, not with just a steroid, but like a regular steroid injection is like 3 cc's of medicine. The it's called a Rax injection. They do, I think, like 30 cc's of like 3 different types of medicine. And it helped. It helped a lot. And like the third time I was going, I got there. I got there on time. Maybe like, well, I think I got there 5 minutes late because you can't drive yourself to this appointment.
Yeah.
Got there 5 minutes late, but the parking lot's so big. By the time I got in, I was 12 minutes late, and they wouldn't take me. So I had to wait another 3 months just to book. And then the pandemic hit, so they wouldn't even. They're like, well, it's not an emergency one. So I only got 2 of them. I was like, this works really well. And I missed it by 12 minutes, and they like wouldn't take me. They're like, nope, not taking you. You got to reschedule. And I was like, ugh. But have you gotten a VA claim started? And
So because I just got out, and then with stupid COVID, it's taking long for me to get all my medical records. So that's what I'm waiting on right now. So I could start doing my claims. But
yeah,
first, that's what I'm gonna do.
there's a good company. It's called REE. It's called Re Medical. They're really good, really good. And like I don't want to sound like an ad or anything, but if you call them, they'll give you an evaluation. This is for like all veterans, right? So if you call them, they'll do like a free consult and walk you through and like, let's see what you have. And if you've already like started something or started a claim, like it'll get dated from the date that you started. But they'll go through your records and stuff and look through it and say like, okay, like, yeah, we anticipate we can get you this or that. And they're really good. They're really good. Like they work with it. And you do the consult, they tell you what they think they can get you with your records. And then you go see one of their doctors. They'll write up some stuff for you. They call it DBQs. And so they send those to the VA, and then the VA will look over them, and like 9 times out of 10, they're going to do what that doctor said. 'Cause instead of waiting for the VA to give you an appointment, then going to that, and then going back and forth. I've like gone to the VA and like even recorded stuff that I've said. And then when I see their report, it's like not like if I answered yes on the report, it's just NA. Like you can tell they were just clicking the box. And so I think 6 years after I was trying to do it all by myself, I went with them, and it was, I don't know, like ballpark, it was like a $2,000 and they don't release the DBQs to you until after you're paid up in full. But you do that, and then once you're paid up in full, they'll give you all the documents at the end of everything once everything's completed, and then they'll give you a step, like literal step by step to submit it, and then you just wait for the VA to give you a rating. And it was like super easy. And my buddy did this before I did it, because I was like, I don't know about $2,000. So I was like, you do it, and I'll see like what you get out of it. And like, sure enough, like he ended up getting 100%.
Oh, wow.
And so 100% in Texas for all the veterans in Texas is like zero property tax. So you don't pay property tax, you get your 100% rating. There's all these other benefits here in Texas. And so I was like, okay, I'll look into it after he did. And then after I did, I was like, okay, like anytime I know any other veteran friends, like that's who I recommend to, because there's a whole bunch of other ones out there, but they take a percentage of how much you get paid. So like, let's say you get 100% with them, they'll take like 50% for a year. Which if you ever make 100%, like 50% is like $1,500 a month they'll take for a year. So like there's companies like that, but RE was the only one that looked like the bang for your buck, I guess, if I would have to say it like that. So I would look into them too. They look kind of small, but like they definitely got him there. They helped me, and I think they're based out of like California, because the guy that I was working with, he was based out of California, but they help a lot. They're really good. I recommend them to like anybody that I know that's veteran.
That's something to look into, definitely. Whatever could be me, by all means.
Yeah, I'll send you the link that I have, and then I think I still have the guy's number that I use. So I don't know if he's still working there or not, but I'll send you that too. But now that you're back in San Antonio, you don't have any plans to leave. Do you have any other like short-term goals that you're working on? You just got a new whip, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My cool mom car.
Yeah. So
short-term goals, really just to slow down. I'm always like go. Enjoy more time with the boys and the little things. But I'm pretty content in life right now, being by myself. I've been blessed that I have a good job and I have my apartment. Just, I really can't ask for anything more right now than that. Just trying with everything at the moment.
All right. Well, Christian, like if you had to say one thing before we close this out, if you had one last thing to say to like, if you had all the moms listening, all the women that were listening, what would be a piece of advice you would give them?
To never give up. You could do anything you put your mind to. You don't need anybody. Especially if you're a mom, you have little ones that look up to you. Those are the men or daughters that, you know, you should give your world to. And being a mom is probably one of the hardest damn jobs.
Yeah.
But it's every sacrifice and every bad day. There's so many good days, and enjoy every little memory. That's one thing I want to say about me, you know, talking about Jude and posting Jude a lot, is for my social media platforms. I don't want anybody to feel sad when I post about him, but I post to make y'all realize that time is precious with y'all's babies. So, you know, I never thought that would ever happen to me in my life. I've never known anybody who's lost a baby either. Besides like miscarriages, but not like a born baby. So that's why I post about that a lot, is just love while you can, because you only got one life.
Yeah.
Best of it.
Well said. Well, all right, Christian, I'll let you get back to it, but thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
All right, take care. Don't mess with that. Just tell you here.
Hello.
Oh.
Do it right.
I don't know where you got all that from. I've never said that.
What are you listening to, Asher? podcast.